A very good morning to each and every one of you, wherever you're joining us from this morning, whether you're at home in Guyana where Tabby is or you further north where I am. Welcome to FYI. For your information, guys, it's the 6th day of September already. Lots of travel in the schools. Some good stuff happening too, Tabby.
Good morning, Sherrod. Good morning. Hope you had a good rest of the day. I saw you took a break from in the ring in the
Yes,
ring last
yes,
night. So I
yeah.
hope you
We
got some
we
needed rest or something nice
we
or
had to
fun happened
actually make
last
an
evening.
airport run um,
Oh,
last evening, and these distances here aren't very short distances. I didn't want to risk it coming back late and having to scramble together, you
yes.
know.
Okay. Well, I understand. Understand. I think your viewers missed you, but it's
Yeah,
understandable that
yeah,
things come up every once in a while that would make it impossible for you to do the show. So good morning, folks. Good morning.
yeah,
Hope you guys had a good
yeah.
evening, and we're ready to be with you this morning.
And then the wife was flying in last evening, so I needed some time. I needed some time. My host is saying that there's an extra pep in my step this morning. Who expects
And rightfully so, rightfully so. Oh, I'm so excited. Yes,
an extra
I'm
pep
glad
in my?
she's there with you. Ah, that's lovely.
Oh yes. So at least we get to spend part of the vacation together.
Yes, and
You
so
know?
guys, if you see Sherrod smiling extra sweetly
Oh
this
yes.
morning, you know why.
That extra smile. Tabby, as we're on that, our encouragement has always been work hard and find some time to rest and recuperate and to be gentle with yourselves. Because back in GT, all we know about is working and dying.
Yes, no, you are so right, and it is so important because you spend your whole life just working and working, and then at the end, you realize that you have not really lived and enjoyed and got the other side of life that is outside of just working at 9 to 5, or for some persons, it's 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning, depending on if you work on a shift system. And it's so important for your own health, for your own mind and mental health, for you to just take a break sometimes and just rest a little, and you might even see things a bit differently, whatever situation you may be going through. If you have to make a big decision, it's good to do that when you're not under stress. So take a break and then go again.
I hope that Pam Halls and Roxanne Garraway and Dolly Anderson, y'all hearing, take a break every now and again. Be gentle with yourself. Isabella Butchers, Lennox Anderson here with us, and Debbie Collins, of course, all the usual suspects, including Annette Cummins is here too. Lennox Anderson, good to see you, Lennox. John Sullivan, of course, and all the other folks joining us around the world. Thanks for joining our broadcast this morning, Tabby. Very, very important. Work,
Yes,
but rest. And
work. Yes, sometimes I see people, and I know, and even persons in my family, they've spent so much time just on the go. And then you hear a lot in North America too, where it's every hour. They don't waste time. Like, but
well, you,
we
well, you gotta
work, but
walk
we
in.
waste a lot of time here, right? But they,
You
they
gotta
don't
walk.
have the benefit of having a day off often. They don't have a benefit of the sick leave that we tend to have, and have 3 days off when you go to a doctor and get a sick leave, and you still get paid for it. And so sometimes you need to be able to prioritize finding a time to just recuperate, finding a time to spend some extra time with your family, with your spouse, with your loved ones, because at the end of the day, and I would normally say this to people, if you, for whatever, God forbid, something happens to you, the job will find somebody to replace you. So you putting your job over your family will mourn and the loss, but the job will find somebody to replace you very quickly. So
Yeah,
you have to be very vigilant and prioritize
yeah.
family time, and prioritize ensuring that you're healthy, physically and mentally.
That's a very, very important point, Happy, because it's never lost on me how you could be here tomorrow and then 3 days, 4 days later, if so long, but it's gonna
Yes,
be a short time.
no one
you you
knows
know,
that. We don't
yeah.
know. We don't
Life
know.
goes on. That's the whole thing. So,
Yes,
the job, is going to be there, whether you were there or not. The job is going to be there. So,
exactly.
but find some time responsibly to fit in there for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, and stay in touch. Stay in touch. Charles Jeffries here with us. I see Beryl Crawford is here with us too. I see Marva Gilbert Warchin is here. You, I see Yolanda Thomas. Marlin from Brooklyn. Morning, Marlin. How things at your end?
Good
Beatrice LD
morning,
of
Lynn. Good
Ford.
morning, Lynn
You could
Finance.
almost close your eye and color the
I
whole
know that
list.
Marlene is going to be there.
You know,
Jesus.
close your eye. You know, you got Beryl and
Yes,
all the other
definitely.
folks.
Erwin Don Cook,
You
good
know who on the
morning.
live too? MP Ganesh Mahipal.
He's here. Good morning, Ganesh.
Yeah, Ganesh on the live too. Hope it's the same Ganesh. I know they got two Ganesh Mahipal. God forbid we got two.
No,
God
one is
forbid.
enough. One is enough.
Yeah,
Ganesh probably
yeah,
just took his son off to school, and
yeah.
so he is on the
You
live.
know, our late great national poet Martin Carney says, "For any man and any time, one dream is enough. One Ganesh is enough."
One Ganesh is enough
Yeah.
for all of us.
One is whole world broke up. One Ganesh is enough. So, folks, we hope your day is off to a fantastic start. What I don't want to say what's in your cup. It's not in keeping with our theme. What is in your vessel for holding liquids, beverage?
Yeah, no, for me this morning, I just have water. I must admit, I went
That's
straight
like every
water.
morning for you, Tabby. It's the off morning. You have some flavoring and so on.
Yeah, I went straight water this morning. I felt like water, so
Yeah.
I don't have anything special today.
Okay. Robin
How
Kendall
about
is
you?
on this morning with us. Good morning, Robin Kendall. We got folks in the functional kitchen, huh? Thanks. It's
Good
not
morning,
fighting.
Seymour.
It's not
Good morning,
fighting the Jacobats. It's just moving around something. Cheryl Jeffrey, good morning. Fidel Albert, Yvonne, Ramasar, and all the other folks joining us. You know, you never
Ganesh,
hear us
somebody's
until
asking
anyway.
if
We
you're
got a
coming
bat for this show. Very functional.
Somebody's
No,
asking
Rachel
Ganesh
Ray
if
and
he's
so
coming
on.
to Washington.
Who is the other woman that you look at that does the cooking? The Guyanese woman. Glamour Girl, a Guyanese woman here in the diaspora, does a fantastic cooking program on YouTube.
Okay.
Glamour Girl, you know, you never in Glamour Girl kitchen. We have the authentic kitchen. And nothing is for sure here. So, folks, welcome. Did we see Ganesh again? Just want to make sure it's Ganesh joining us. We want no fake Ganesh. We only want
We want the real guy.
We want the because you can't put it past them boys, you know. They got all kind of conks and so on. You know. Camille Cox joining us from Region 6. Good morning, Camille. They tell me that Camille is still celebrating her birthday. It was last week. You know, it's every day is partying in Region 6. Carletta Glasgow, we see you too. Carletta Glasgow, good morning. How are you doing, Carletta? Good to have you on the live. Great to have you live. Suk Chan Sudhari. I see Karen Clark is here as well. Sammy, sorry, I'm giving you a chance to get in a word.
No, Sharon, one of your viewers just okay. One of your viewers was trying to tell you that when people wake up early and they start making noise, they're trying to give you a message. It's time to get up. So
the message is breakfast coming.
So you got to figure out when it's time to get out or it's just breakfast.
You know, when I was younger, we were in Essequibo on the coast there, and a good friend took us at some folks' house. You know, it was my first time in Essequibo, as a matter of fact. You know, but he knew the people, he knew them. You know, Tabby was tongue for like 3 hours. You hearing things in the kitchen, chewing up all, nothing coming out. This is not a kind of kitchen. Once you hear things knocking down, impending, you know, breakfast impending.
I hope so for your sake, Sharon.
Every time I go to Esquire Pass, I say, watch it. I say, y'all. I say, y'all know y'all able.
They didn't feed you, Sharon.
Every time I pass, I say, y'all here. Yeah, wicked.
They didn't feed you?
I'm not going to release them. One day soon.
Right? They didn't feed you.
I want y'all know in true Guyanese style. My wife brought chicken foot. She bring what's this other thing here? Shingles, puri and sauerkraut. I don't know how they stop she JFK and say we go with all this. Something I miss here. You look like you can put up a little stand on Jamaica Avenue. Come get your puri. Come get your chicken foot. Yeah, folks. So, guys, we actually have a program. Believe it or not, we aren't stalling for anything. We actually have a program this morning. So,
It's
welcome to
good to
all of
laugh
you.
sometimes.
Oh yes, oh yes, and that's why folks join us. Tabby, and we tell them all the time. Look, y'all come. Your blood pressure is lowered here, and all the, you know, you don't got to buy the Nutrifus. You don't got to buy the Bigfoot medication, whatever it is. Whatever it is, your Stelazine and so on. Stelazine, I think, is something for a little, you know, just take a fraction of that and partner with us. Just take a fraction and partner with us. And we be better for it, you be better for it, and we keep on going on. So, folks, wherever you're joining us from, share the live, smash that emoji button for us, and as we say, partner with us as well. As we begin, allow us to say that we want to recommend to you, to get us out of the way very early, the Alistair Collins firm for all of your needs. If you need a justice of the peace, Commissioner of Oaths to affidavit down there in Georgetown, there on Lamaha Street at the Callion Mall between Camp and Waterloo Streets. There, the number 649-6410, 685-6448. You need a good justice of the peace, a good Commissioner of Oaths to affidavit. We use them all the time. That's why we recommend them highly. They are professional folks. Personally, I've used a lot of justice of the peace in the past. Commissioner of Oaths affidavit, and you don't. They lift the standard. That's all I say. They lift the standard there. So we want to recommend them to you and recommend them highly. That being said, folks, back to regular programming. We got a lot we want to share with you guys this morning. There's a lot happening on the morning papers. Why don't we get to some of that, Tabby? And just to give folks a sense of some of the things we're going to be touching on this morning. There was that horrific accident at Mahika. Well, not an accident. A cutlass beating. We say a cutlass beating. So a lot of folks might say the machete. But
Yeah.
a terrible beating yesterday at a Chinese restaurant there. I ain't think things are wrong, but we can find out exactly who the fighting at this Chinese restaurant. There were many cutlasses there yesterday. We can talk about that too. And these two persons, Tabby, who were found, I think, in the Escobar River yesterday as father-in-law and his son-in-law, were found floating in the Escobar River yesterday. Those are some of the things making the headline this morning. And I preempted this one when I started. This horrific accident, Region 6 yesterday. Carnage on our roads and waterways. That's one of the things we always talk about here. And the plight of the sugar workers and others who were arrested 2 days ago, they were released on bail yesterday. That's something else too that's making the morning papers. Sabi?
Yeah. Yes, Sherrod. I was reading. I saw first of all the video of the collision, and there's nothing like staying safe, because it looked as though the person who was on the bike was attempting to overtake another vehicle and then ended up in the pathway of the truck, and lost his life. And it's so sad, but we have to be so careful on the roads. We don't know. We sometimes we just aren't fast enough. We aren't, and you always try to make the best judgment when you're on the road, because really you really never know. On the issue with the the two bodies that were found in the Essequibo River, that I think leaves a lot more questions and answers, because if they, based on the news report, they went out to get some groceries to bring back to their camp, and for some reason, they found these, they didn't get back when they were supposed to, and there was a missing report was sent out for them, and the police ended up finding them just floating there. And it's, I guess, a lot of investigation has to go into exactly what transpired that caused the death of these two individuals. So condolences to the families of the biker and also these two quarry employees who were found there in the Essequibo River. Now the issue with the sugar protest, now that is a whole other story. it's Sharon, I cannot understand the direction that the government has decided to go where dealing with issues such as these. If persons are protesting, they're protesting for a reason. And if you following what was happening, and if you listen to our colleague Kemrat Rampitan, who has been on the ground, it's not for they're not the protests are not in, it's not because they just feel like protesting. They have some serious concerns, and any government that is interested in ensuring that the people are are listened to, because you're there to represent the people and to try to find some amount of a consensus on how it is you should move forward, that this can't be the way you deal with it. But apparently they feel that they're lords and gods, and they are in control and in charge, and they don't have to listen to anybody and come to some peaceful resolution to these issues that not only the sugar workers have, but generally most, if not all, public servants. They may not all come out in the same form or fashion, but that at all levels in the public sector, there are issues, there are concerns as it relates to their salaries, their concerns as it relates to how their working environment. So I don't know how if they're going to lock up and everybody that comes out to protest their working conditions.
Yeah, yeah. So we're definitely going to circle back to some of these issues, and you folks who are joining us live from the many places going to have a chance to ventilate. I've noticed lots of comments there, but we're going to circle back to some of that. But let's pick up on some of what we're tracking internationally. There's $1 billion in aid that's going to be heading the way of the Ukraine, and this is now adding to the billions already spent there. They're telling us that the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, is going to be making a stopover in the Ukraine. A surprise stopover in the Ukraine. Anytime now, might be there already for all we know. And part of his visit is going to be to announce this $1 billion aid package. Folks, what's happening here is that the U.S. cannot afford to cede Ukraine to Russia, because Putin's ambition is not going to stop there. It's not going to stop there. And this is Hitler 2.0. Hitler started that march across Europe, and then he was heading over the Atlantic, right? And they don't want that to escalate to this. And so this is part of what's stemming this tide of the advance of Russia is looking like they're in Ukraine.
Yes, and war is expensive business. So, even if you're defending a territory, it's not something that is cheap. And what I find interesting is that countries who seem to, U.S. is the most powerful country in the world, and they have a lot of money, but they also have a lot of debt. So I always try to figure out, like, where do they find money to do more things? I really need to understand economics and how it works. But yes, another $1 billion for Ukraine. Hopefully it works. Generally when you hear a Secretary of State is going somewhere, it's either that he's, especially a place like Ukraine, the security is so tight on these matters, he's probably already landed and on his way out. That is when things like this would come out for his own security. They don't always give you too much advance notice when these things are happening. So maybe he's already there.
They probably feel confident enough in what's happening on the ground there. But that being said, we've had two visits by U.S. Secretary of States. We had Pompeo and we had Blinken. And then hear anything major announced after that. You couldn't get in $1 billion. We were supposed to get a catfish deal. We were a catfish for all intents and purposes.
We were catfish.
We're still waiting for that. Two U.S. Secretary of State visits. We didn't seem to get too much out of those visits. But Ukraine.
I'm wondering. You know what I'm wondering, Sharon, if there's actually a file in the U.S. State Department called catfish.
I think so, I think so. That's why Sarah Laughley, in the last interview, she did that exit interview with Gordon Mosley. That's why she laughed us on that very note. But in other things happening, folks, Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al Sharpton, the politician Al Sharpton, he's taking exception to Black influencers, Black artists who are supporting Trump. Right? In that sense, he said, y'all better catch your senses. Y'all remember the Central Park 5? Who Trump came out against. They were accused of raping a jogger in Central Park. And long before they went to trial, Trump took out apparently a whole sentence spread, saying that they should be prosecuted and jailed and a whole manner of things. The men were later found to be innocent of that, and he has never apologized. So here was Sharpton quite recently reminding you know, y'all better catch your senses and know who y'all dealing with here. Yeah.
There's you see, and this is always an issue with individualism, the individual agenda as opposed to the collective. Most of these artists, if you listen to them, their interest and love for Trump, so to speak, if you call it love, is his statements that he's made on taxes, and the fact that they would earn more because they would have to pay a lot less taxes on him because they would fall in that bracket where they would get reduced taxes, and so that is their individual interest. And so they're not looking out for the collective interest of the community, but what would be best for their particular bank accounts. And I remember during the last elections, 50 Cent came out basically stating something of that nature. And, people did not take kindly to his statement, and he said had to step it back a little bit. But that's basically what it is. It's about what is happening in your bank account as opposed to the collective interest of the community.
Correct, is right. So we're watching. We are watching that. Catch your senses. In a sense, come to yourself, right? And know. He said I gotta give you all a history lesson on Trump and proceeded to do that. So, folks, catch your senses, huh? We got something to deal with, you know. We got something to deal with. I see some people saying Jay's green in the comments and all manner of things, you know.
No, but the bottom line is the same thing, you know. It's about individual self-interest and an agenda for self as opposed to understanding collective responsibility and looking after the interests of the collective. And some people will look after the interests of themselves, and we have to understand that that is their right to do so, even though we don't agree. But most of us hopefully will understand the need for a collective response to certain things in the best interest of not only us, but future generations.
Yeah. Drink your soup if you must. Drink your soup if you must. Some other things happening regionally. Kamala Prasad Bisesar, no doubt emboldened by some advances, in the polls during the local government election concluded on, I think it was August 15th. There in Trinidad and Tobago, she said she's going to be running again for Prime Minister. You know?
No shock there. No shock there. She has been, ramping up to this particular point. So it's going to be interesting. That's all I would say here. Would there be a major change? I don't know, because local government elections, though it would show what is happening. It's still it's still you don't always get a true sense of, because of the lower turnout than what would happen at national polls. So what we'll see whether or not any significant impact is made based on her stance over the last couple of months, even years. Some of the statements that she has made, I'm not sure if it's the people are responding positively to them, but on an election will tell us.
Yeah, I think too that Kamala is a known entity. I'm gonna head out there first and say that I don't see Kamala being reelected as Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM is very strong. They've managed to hold their base and hold the other groups that brought them to power, hold things intact. I don't see how with Kamala, I don't see that energy, I don't see that enthusiasm. People going out there in the numbers to support Kamala. Maybe another candidate, maybe
if they had shifted.
Yeah, somebody with a broader appeal, with not so much baggage as it were. I can see that. I don't see a Kamala winning the next general election in Trinidad and Tobago, which is slated for 2025. So we're going to be running neck and neck, because I think we have an election too in 2025.
We should have elections here in 2025, all things considered.
All
so
things
see how
considered.
it goes. I don't disagree with you, Shara, that it might have been better for the UNC if they brought somebody new that will sort of reinvigorate the people and suggest that they're going in a different direction. But she's in charge, and the party seems to support her angle, at least at this particular point. So she's moving forward. Whether it's to their detriment, we'll find out in the end.
Naomi Drucker says that Kamala has to get the PPP to teach her how to rig elections to win. Badru King says she's desperate. Yeah, some of the comments there.
Somebody said, Jack, doing a skirt.
In other news, folks, things happening in Georgetown, but you all know once we get here where we are. Early this morning, there was a fire on the East Coast. A car dealership went up in flames.
I missed that one. Oh my.
Yep.
This is
Another
on the East
day
Coast?
up on the East Coast, yeah.
Oh
Where up
my.
on the East Coast, they're telling us.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
Yep. Watching that, flattened by fire. Fire, carnage on our roads and waterways, violence against our women and girls, you know. That's the trifecta right there. And we want
Wow.
no loss of life from what we are being told by that car dealership. All up in flames. This, tell you about this when we were starting. This very horrific accident yesterday in Bobis. They said the lorry involved in this accident was heading to New Amsterdam, while the cycle ride, I think, was was on the quarantine. This is Ajay Ramchan, 43, who went headlong into this lorry. I saw some of this based on the CCTV camera footage in that area there, and this was a horrific accident. I saw somebody said, one headline said this motorcycle went up in flames. The motorcycle exploded.
It
On
exploded.
exploded in back. Horrific accident. So thoughts and prayers, of course, are with his family, Ajay Ramchan.
Yes, and based on the pictures, he had on his helmet. He had on, he had on all the safety garments that you should when you're riding a motorcycle, but an impact like that can't save you. So while yes, it's good to wear your helmet, you also have to be very careful on the road when you're riding bikes. And with motorcycles, you have even less protection because in a car, in a vehicle, you have some of the body of the vehicle can take some of the impact. And so you may be able to survive even if you get into an accident. But with a motorcycle and a bicycle, it's you and that whatever vehicle that you may end up running into. And so that is always almost definite death on impact because it's your body colliding with another vehicle that is in movement. And so it's really sad, and there are a lot of motorcyclists on the roads, and even if you're in the city, you see a lot of families taking their children to school on motorcycles, and so just please be careful on our roadways. Oh my, please be careful.
This here was, as we said, it was very, very horrific. And one school of thought seemed to suggest that the car that Ajay was overtaking was speeding up while he was trying to overtake on the outside, and couldn't do so in time and collided with this truck. As we saw, the motorcycle he was on exploded on impact. His father said he just spoke to him about half hour earlier. He works with his father. I think they have a trucking business or something of that sort, and left to do something on this motorcycle, and that was it.
Yes, condolences.
Yeah,
Sherry seems if he's doing with way too many condolences these days.
yeah. This accident was on the quarantine, just for the sake of accuracy. Ajay Ramchan, he's from a place called Nig on the
Yes.
quarantine as well. And as you can see here in this graphic, this was a bobcat of sorts that was on the
On the
trailer of
truck.
that truck, and based on the impact there, that bobcat fell onto the roadway and all that. Horrific accident. And I was surprised even in reading some of the notation on this. They said that he was rushed in an unconscious state. I didn't think there was anything left to rush, but he said apparently he flew off of the motorcycle on impact and landed somewhere nearby. You
Yeah.
know, folks, we got to slow down. We got to slow down, please and thank you. I know I don't think we say that afterwards. I don't think we say it enough, or people are not listening to us. But something is wrong on the roadways in Guyana. I see the government now picking up
Yeah.
on this and saying, we got to try to stem the tide in some way.
They're now going to try to create a strategy. That is the point where they're at this stage.
And at a place called Unity at Mahaika, CCTV camera at a Chinese managed restaurant, Chinese owned and managed restaurant there. CCTV camera showed a group of men coming into the restaurant and, putting a song beating on the patron of that restaurant. The attack was on Sunil Nagasar, 35 years old, again at Unity Maikoni, and it was a band of brothers who was in this altercation with Nagasar at this Chinese restaurant. I mean, this is like the wild, wild west. When you look at these things combined, they paint a kind of narrative of where we live and how we live. Thankfully, they said here that he was broadsided. He's in a stable state. They tell us at hospital receiving treatment.
And was there any indication as to why this altercation happened in the first place? Because
no, they didn't say, but clearly something came before this.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a band of brothers. Something had to come before this. I'm not saying that. Please, I'm not in any way saying that he deserved it or anything. But I was just trying to get a sense of the behind story that led to this particular altercation. Of course, we don't ever condone even if there was some issue before. This is not how you deal with any matter. There are other methods or legal ways in which you deal with issues that may arise between you and any individual or any group of persons. And so we need to turn back from the direction we seem to be heading in.
Correct. Starbuck News, in its reporting, Tabitha, and others watching us this morning, says that Nagasar was at the Chinese restaurant at Unity Village on Monday night when 4 suspects rushed into the restaurant, all armed with cutlasses, and broadsided him several times about his body. He sustained wounds to his toes and hands. He was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where he was admitted as a patient in a stable condition. But it didn't say too much on the motive for this vicious attack.
And the name of the village is what?
Unity Village at Mahaika. Yeah. Interesting.
They're not living in unity there.
Clearly not.
I just wish the young man a speedy recovery and hope he too gets justice. But I would really like to get a sense of what really transpired here. We really need to do better. I think this anger management and how to deal with conflict resolution are things that even as children we need to start doing in our schools, because there's so many things happening in our society, and as children because I'm not a child, but children generally would see things happening in their communities, and if it is that it's not targeted and dealt with accurately, then they grow up feeling that is the way you respond or react to situations. And so one of the things that I would like to see is sessions of conflict resolution and anger management in the school system to try to help our young people navigate through difficult circumstances better than what we see here happening.
I think too, Tabby, it speaks to the point of people not having too much confidence in law enforcement, because that whatever is the grievance there, the infraction that was committed or not committed by Alj Ramchan that caused that whole thing to happen there. Why didn't people think there's recourse to the law, recourse to the
exactly
police, right? There's something to say about that too.
That is true. That is true, and there's a lot of that going on. I don't know if you saw what happening at the Starbrook Market. There was another altercation where 2 persons were fighting, and everybody thought it best to video than to try to part the fight. So we really need to do better as a society, and I think our culture needs to shift as to how it is we respond to situations. It seems as if our instinct is to lash out and attack. If our ego is bruised or we feel that somebody may have wronged us, as you said, maybe the perception is that law enforcement will not do it justice, and so you have to take matters into your own hands. And so at the various levels, I think we need to change our culture in the police force, so that they know how to deal with matters professionally, and at an individual level, change how it is we respond and react to situations when we are involved.
Yeah. Tabby, one of the things we were commenting on recently is that protest, as we were talking about earlier, that happened just recently where the folks were locked up. And to see the amount of police there. Now, if you call a police for a domestic thing, we have a vehicle, this wasn't available, something. 3 days later, you still will be waiting. So you understand in a sense why sometimes it's not the right thing to do. Vigilante justice is not justice, right? But you live in a country where you can get tons of police walking around behind Irfan Ali. You know, they could find police to make protesters' lives miserable and all that. But you have a genuine issue. We a vehicle, and then they come in their own street time. You know, something
No,
myself.
yeah, you are absolutely right, and it's an indication of two things. One is the level of importance that those who are in charge place in these matters, because if they, they basically say to the police it's okay to come out in these particular situations, and this is what we are paying attention to, and this is how we want you to respond to the public. That is how they will respond in all circumstances and situations. If it is that you are not letting the police know that issues of domestic violence, issues of interpersonal violence, issues, that you can, that these are how you should respond to them, and you place emphasis there, you place resources there, you ensure that the police officers are trained effectively to deal with it, then all they would know is to come out when there's a protest. And I don't want to say it, but they were using a lot of force on the protesters and then locking them up, because that's all they seem to be trained to be able to respond to.
Very interesting times. And to qualify that, we started this week by talking about the return of our children to school. And we did tell you folks that the list that the ministry had produced of schools not opening was not exhaustive. We did talk to about that school in Region 5 that is not going to be opening. As a matter of fact, they said the school is going to be closed and closed permanently, and we saw the residents and so on protesting there. There's that too. So a lot happening tab in the education sector that just boggles the mind. This photograph comes out of Tocqueville Primary School, and they're telling them there that grade 3, 4, 5, and 6, their school is opening on 11. Grade 1 and 2, they said they don't know when their school is opening. A parent told us that the headmistress of the lecture have said maybe in October or November, but for now they're going to be using worksheet. I mean, you have 2 whole months to get things right. This is Tocqueville, and there are other schools as well, and we want to advise the folks who are watching us. If you're at a school, and this is Tocqueville secondary and primary school, they're in the same compound. If you're at a school that's not opening, do let us know. The ministry published a list with about 6 or 7 schools that are now going to be open, that didn't open on Monday, but opening on the coming Monday. But again, it's not an exhaustive list based on what people have been telling us.
And you see, this is where this is governance now, because, and this is, if it is that there's a possibility that you decide that you need to renovate a school, and it takes longer than the 2 months. When it is that you gave the contract, did the contract say 2 months or did the contract say 5 months? What was the expected end date of the renovation? If it was beyond the reopening of the school, a system should have been put in place so that the students could be accommodated somewhere else. Not let persons prepare for school and then the day of this the reopening, you give them some blackboard with some chalk on it saying that you have no school until further notice. I think that is a slap in the face to all parents and students who were ready for school when school was supposed to reopen. And at the level of the minister and the Ministry of Education, they should do better than this. This cannot be accepted. This cannot be the acceptable way of dealing with students who, if you say education is important, if it is that you give the date as to when school will be open, if it is that you have all the information as to whether the contract will, the renovations will be completed, then you put systems in place to ensure that students get to school when school starts. It is as simple as that. We have enough buildings. We have other schools. The children need to go to another building for the foreseeable future until the renovations are completed. But no, grades 1 and 2, no school. And then the parents who were putting things in place because now they know that the children are back to school have to now reassess their whole arrangement because the children are now still home when they should have been at school during this particular time. So it's so many things that the Ministry of Education needs to really get its act together.
Correct in all counts, Tabby. Correct in all counts. And again, we're gonna be following this, and that's why we're inviting you guys. If your child, maybe a relative, going to a school in Georgia that's not yet open, do let us know. You can send us a quick message on our WhatsApp there, 6276963. One number we always have for WhatsApp. Let us know. We wanna make sure we are following some of what's happening. But clearly, a lot to be desired in education governance, in the education sector in Guyana. They're telling you one thing, but again, when you look and see what's happening, it's something quite different. And Tabby, as we run schools, before I get there, I saw the ministry say that they're going to try to catch up with the syllabus for those who are not going to school on the first week. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. And it's not enough. You had a long time. Why after such a long time? Now, it's like typical. I don't even want to say this is like a Guyanese culture. But it's the last minute. Now you see what being dragging, somebody coming for hammer, nail, and so on.
And true, they have students going to school in that same compound that is not safe.
Yeah, there is that too. We saw Big Smith News, I think on Tuesday, was reporting on pollution at East Ramville Secondary School, because I think they're now finishing up some construction work there too. Something to do with pollution there. So a lot happening in the education sector, outside of the curriculum and all of that. That should have been attended to months ago. What were these folks doing during the summer?
And then the minister will come to Parliament and wax lyrical about how awesome she's doing and what the APNU AFC didn't do when they were in office in 2020 to make it look as if she knows what she's about. And the reality on the ground shows very different, that something is very off where the governance and policy and administration is concerned as it relates to the Ministry of Education. So there really needs to be more work done to ensure that systems are in place, because these are our students, these are our future. We know what happened during COVID when things were off, and how much it took to get students back on track, given the delays that occurred. And now we're further delaying first and second grade students in this particular instance, in other instances, other grades as well. And then we say that they'll catch up. When will they catch up? And then now the burden will be on the children to take in more information on a shorter notice than they would have if they had the entire term. And so, and then you put the pressure on the students in these particular areas. So it's really sad. And we really need to ensure that the Ministry of Education understands that this is not acceptable.
Correct. On the curriculum and the secondary level, I saw a headline that suggested that they have to do some work with math. They took a dip in those math scores this year at Sept and so on, and they have to put a special I thought everything was going nice, It was nice time in the education sector, but clearly not all is well at all. And there's some other subject areas too that people are looking at with suspect. Dr. Nicholas Henry made this look so easy, man. Who expects that?
And Sherrod, you see, this whole thing with the education system, it's really important to us, because I remember I used to lecture at the University of Guyana, and there were instances where it was obvious that more work needed to be done at the level of the schools that persons were coming from, because of what you see on the paper once you get to University of Guyana. And it helped me to understand the importance of that foundation that is necessary for any advancement in education, in academia, and then in the workplace. And sometimes we get upset with our employees when they're not able to perform the way that they should, not recognizing that the education system failed them in the first place. And so they're doing the best they could with the information and the education they received, and the education was not the best. And so we really need to take stock of where we are, the fact that we're saying that we're the new Dubai and where we're going to go on our economy. If we don't get our education sector right, we're in some deep trouble come in later years, and we're already in some deep trouble. So it's all right and good to talk about the 27 subjects and the 26 subjects and the 25 of those few very smart young people who were able to put in the time and effort, to get 27 subjects, and kudos to them. But the reality is that under that, which is usually, the surface, under that surface, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in our education system. And if we don't look properly at those, then we'll be, really, it would be a disservice to our students, a disservice to our children who would have some tremendous capacity but can't really, and potential, but can't really fulfill it because our education system is not giving them the chance to be able to do so.
Well said, Tabby. Well said. And as we're on education, let's take a peek over what's happening at a particular private school, private education. People tend to like their politics and their education separate. Like one private school, a lot of eyebrows are being raised because in some of the paraphernalia, on sale at this private school are being distributed by this private school. They're seeing the PPP One Guyana mantra. One of the PPP's candidate we saw and heard, lots of parents told us, is from, I think, has some, what do you call it, connection to a particular private school. And parents call us saying that, we ain't sending a change here for fun, no political party. Right? And it's kind of like the same sentiments we heard this morning when we saw this, because people say, okay, I like my politics one side, if I'm in politics, and my education and my schooling. And many believe that they're crossing the line here at this particular private school.
Sometimes I wonder about us, Sharon. It is, why do we feel that we need to? You see, there was the issue of the David G buses. I remember the issue of the David G buses, and there were a lot of concerns with the fact that it was branded David Granger a bus, but it was his individual bus. Somebody gave it to him, and he decided that he was going to give it to the school children, and so it was named David Granger. And so there were a lot of issues by the PPP, concerns about that particular bus. But now, on this particular instance, you have a private school. As an individual, you could have chosen whether or not to take the bus, right? If you were, but if it is this is the school that you are going to, and this is the part, you have to wear this clothes or wear this stuff, and then you see this One Guyana thing on it. I think sometimes we cross the lines as politicians. And we need to understand where education, not your only education, but any sector, where it is professional and where the politics should end, and leave it to be a professional organization. And I think this is crossing the line in this particular instance, because there is no reason that there needs to be One Guyana on this particular paraphernalia from any school. Yes, the whoever's in charge of the school may decide that that is the line that they want to take, but it should not be forced on the children. And if the children are paying for that particular school to go to that school, then they should have some amount of say. The parents of those students should have amount of say as to whether or not they want to be associated with any one political party or not. I don't know. I think it's a bit too far.
I see Pamela Dover is saying that this is indoctrination. I see there are other comments there as well. But I heard some person say that this is exuberance and over exuberance based on the fact that the first child now goes to this school as well. Maybe they're using it as a selling point, The president's child comes here, the first lady child comes here. So it must be a good school. So they're excited. So I would ask them to rethink this. I would ask them to rethink this, and let's keep with politics and our education, private or public, separate.
You see, it's if they had put the motto of the nation, then that is agreed by all.
Maybe
One
they thought they
people, one
were.
nation, one destiny.
Let me
But
find something to drink at this end. Maybe they thought they were.
but I, this is obviously political and it is divisive. And anybody who understands the fact that this one Guyana thing is not something that the entire country associates with in a positive light, then you should rethink it. And so I don't know. Hopefully that good sense prevails in this particular instance.
Yeah. Hopefully good sense prevails. But as we're talking about one Guyana, up until now, lots of us don't know what this means. And don't even take us who have a political bias on this. We've been reading Sabuk News for a long time on this particular issue, and Sabuk News says it's a very nebulous, hairy, fairy, harum, scarum thing. Like, what are the tenets of one Guyana? What does that even mean? What does it aim to do? What is the nucleus? What's the engine driving this thing? Right? You hear it so often, you see it plastered all over the place. But what does it mean? Dan Graves Andy, Esther Cumberbatch, Pamela Dover, Augustine Delon, Agustina Delon, and all the other folks, Oren Peters. What does it mean? Amabel Clement, what does it mean? Even that is up for grabs. What is this whole thing about? One Guyana means.
I don't even think the person who said it the most understand what it means. So I don't try to figure it out. I just understand. I recognize that it's something that they're trying to push onto the society, but it has no, as I was saying earlier with education, no proper foundation for me to even try to run with it and understand it. I remember there was a whole thing in Parliament where they came to launch the One Guyana, whatever that was supposed to be. And at the end of it, I was still wondering what exactly is the point. And in the actions of the president, if you were to take the term by itself, minus all the politics, One Guyana should represent everybody coming together and unity and all of that. But based on the actions of the individuals who are pushing this particular mantra, it's obvious that that is not what they mean. And so a lot of persons, I remember the former mayor saying that One Guyana is for a certain section of the population, a certain people who are closely related to the PPP. It's really a circle of friends, family, and favorite. That is what the One Guyana is, a One Guyana circle, and not necessarily the entire Guyana involved in that particular process. So the actions speak louder than words, and whether the words may want to suggest something, the actions of those who actually spend a lot of time trying to push it down the throats of Guyanese really suggest to us that they're really not interested in even what the words are supposed to mean.
Yeah. Marlon Lorimer says that Guyana's motto is one people, one nation, one destiny.
Exactly.
I'm sticking to that.
Agreed, 100%.
That's what Marlon says. I'm sticking to that. Yeah. And other folks are chiming in. One people, one nation, one destiny. It's all for God.
Somebody said they really wanted to say one-sided Guyana, but they just took out the side. They said,
same thing. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. But folks, I would advise, as I said, I would advise the good people. I know the people of nations are good people. Guyanese read into everything. That's the kind of country we live in. We read into everything. I've seen conversations where people are saying there's a big fight between Afal and his Muslim brothers, and that's why, the child is going to this school, not a Muslim school. There are all kinds of schools of thought out there. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody where to send your child. You want to send your child to a private school, and you are head of a government and with responsibility for public school system, and you want to send your child to a private school and drive home to people that you don't have confidence in the public school system, you go ahead and do that. You go ahead and do that. People will have a chance to respond to that when they go to the poll. If the man in charge of the public school system and he sent his child to a private school, what does it say to me? Has he done a good job, a good stewardship of the public education sector? Right? Maybe this is why they were giving money to private schools. Private schools get money, fair enough. Nice time. Guyanese will have a chance to respond to that at the appropriate time, at the place of poll, in the polling booth. You'll have a chance to respond to that.
And Chera, they had 25 years to fix whatever issues they found in the public schools. 25 years. So even if they want to say that we were there in 2015, they were in office for 25 years from 1992 to now. And so any issues that they may have met in 1992, and from all that I have heard, the public school system was way better then than it is now. But if they found that they had issues within 25 years, they could have solved all of those issues and make the public school the best public institutions in the Caribbean if they so desired. But, there's a lot of work to be done in our education sector, and it shows based on what we were discussing earlier. And so the president and has a right to, as you said, go to take his child to a private school.
Precisely. But again, you have to embrace all the criticism that comes with that, because again, taxpayers are spending billions of dollars, billions being appropriated by the National Assembly for education. And if at the end of the day, the man who has purview over bettering the education system says, me a confidence in that for my own child, I send my child someplace else. You better wake up and smell the coffee. You better wake up and smell it. Better wake up and smell it. Yeah. That being said, folks, we are to the end of our program this morning, but I see we got so many comments there. So many persons have joined us this morning. Naomi Jocko, of course, leading the whole part. Carlos, Malcolm is here. Melinda Innes is here as well. Andrew Griffith doesn't like to be left out of anything at all. Gail Leacock, Ingrid King is here too. George Seymour. Pamela Dover is here as well. Tabby, interesting time.
I see Elizabeth Narine, Ingrid King. Good morning, Dan Graves Andy. Good morning.
Life, always.
What can we say? We have true followers. Some Dan Graves Andy saying you're right, Sherrod, you're right on all counts. From 92, they sat and hold. Oh my, don't let me continue that statement.
Yeah, Dan from Linden.
But yes, good morning. Yes, one people, one nation, one destiny. Loretta Argyle, I agree with you, Compy. That is our motto, and that is what we should be aiming for as a society. Anything else, I think we should just put aside and let's work towards one people, one nation, one destiny.
Yeah. I saw something a couple of years ago. It was Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, who had talked about this recourse to the courts. People run to the courts. I'm trying to paraphrase. I'm doing a very rough job at this. For protection from the government, he said, you will have an opportunity at the poll, in the ballot, right? So you're vexed. Get vexed enough to go and get registered. Get vexed enough to actually on election day go out to the poll. Guys, I see so many people get lazy. Like I know, like the obvious most strong on election day. Don't want to move from point A to point B. Now is the time of continuous registration. Go and get registered. The onus is upon you. Get vexed enough to make sure you got your ID card. Make sure your name on that list. And sometimes it means too discussing these issues as we are here with your family and with your friends, right? If I go to a bank, Tabby, to open an account, I do it all the time. I always ask the talent on. I said, do you have an account here? If you walk into the bank and you got an account here, you telling me a lot. You telling me plenty things. You understand me?
No, but you're right, Sharon, and I agree with you that persons should go get registered and speak to the young people in your community, speak to young people in your family. If they're going to be 18, but by the time there's elections, then they need to get registered. They need to start the process. Because a lot of times, and the reality is that young people make up the majority of our country, and the young people have the ability to decide who gets into government during next elections. And so the young people cannot sit back and say, well, it's not important. It doesn't matter what I do, because young people make up the majority of this country. And so if the young people decide that they want to change, they want something different and what that should look like, then the first act that they need to do is to get themselves registered. Yes, we know that we are asking for a new list. Yes, but you still need to get registered. So whatever that new list process may look like, you're already in the system. And even if they don't get to that point, we'll have to deal with it. But at the first part, you need to get yourself registered at this particular stage.
Correct, 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 correct. You know, and again, as we close, I want to say that, you know, using that bank analogy, Irfan appointed a manager at the bank, Priya Manichan, the Bank of Education, a manager, and we pour billions into this bank every budget cycle, right? They appointed other people. They moved Hudson to
Yeah.
put in somebody from Timbuktu as
And they
chief,
moved Alfred King.
yeah, chief banking officer, right? They move a lot of people, and then you turn around and say, you know what? Minga confidence is bank. I go by the private bank and put me money in there. You understand me? And you go to an election and you end up in a polling booth and you say, I stay with these people here. You know? Who you put in charge of you bank and they're doing their own thing. You say, I can put them back. What else you looking for? What else you looking for? Writing is on the wall. Folks, that's going to do it for us. And listen, Tabby, the last word goes to you.
Yes,
Women first, women last.
as I would normally say, please, guys, stay safe. Please look out for those who are not looking out for you, and try your best to always be kind to someone else. You never know what they may be facing. Sometimes we get into situations never understanding where somebody else is coming from, and so we respond based on how they respond to us. But I would like to suggest to us that we kind to even those who may not necessarily be kind to us, you know, and that may go a long way in their particular day, because they may be facing circumstances that cause them to react in a particular way. So be kind to each other, look out for those who are not looking out for you, and stay safe, guys, until
Stay
tomorrow
safe
morning.
indeed.